Hi everyone! Today I am working on some cards for ideas just to decide if I want to use this for upcoming fall stamp camp or maybe card buffet, depends on what I need. So I'm just kind of playing with the Painted Pheasant stamp set to see what I think. So I love the word painted. So when I see a stamp set that says painted or watercolor or whatever, I kind of gravitate right towards it. So I really liked the look of this one, and I like that it's a Thanksgiving. You rarely see the Happy Thanksgiving. There's a lot of times when you see a stamp that's for fall that says grateful. That one's in a lot of them, but the actual Happy Thanksgiving is a stamp set that I don't see very often, so I'm kind of glad that it has that in there. So I wanted to play around with this and get this look of a water. I wanted to make it look like a watercolor, but if you're not a painter, they've done that painting look for you. You can see the softness of this. It's not a harsh line stamp set. It's got a very soft look to it, very sketchy, and it's got some shadow, not shadow, but like dark colors and light colors and different tones, I guess is the word I'm looking for. So anyway, really nice stamp set, and I am excited to try it out. And I've done my first card with it right here, and I wanted to show you how to get this look with your Stampin' Write markers, and also we're going to do something with a spritzer too. I want to play around with that idea. So this is my first go at the Painted Pheasant stamp set. Okay, when I do something with water, and this first card is I'm not using water, so you can do this on a very vanilla background or a basic white background or anything like that. Maybe even a crumb cake background would be fun. This is shimmer white, and the reason why I'm using shimmer white is because I want to try doing something with a spritzer too to kind of get it more wet and even more painted looking. So we're going to play with that, and I wanted to use shimmery white for that, because shimmery white, it's not quite white. It has a slight off-white look to it, and there's a shimmer that you can't really pick up on the video, but it's there, I promise you. And the nice thing about it is whatever they've used to put that shimmer onto the cardstock makes it have kind of a coating that withstands water better. So you can actually watercolor and do techniques with a lot of water on the shimmery cardstock as opposed to standard cardstock. And the shimmer is not glitter, so you're not going to get a glittery card. Sometimes people wonder if it's very glittery, and it's not. It's a very subtle shimmer. It's really pretty. Anyway, I like it a lot. So we're using Painted Pheasant. I'm also going to bring in the deckled edges. Let's see, deckled rectangle dies, and this is a really nice die set to have in your stash. A lot of good sizes here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really nice. I like this one a lot, and this stamp set doesn't have any dies with it, so it's kind of nice to, you can use it without the dies. You can just cut standard rectangles and do some tearing if you don't have this, but I thought that those deckled edges are really nice. So let's start out. I'm going to do a base in crumb cake, and instead of scoring at the, to make the card open like a book, I'm doing it where it opens still like a book but skinny and long. So I've got it here, and this is crumb cake, and then I've cut a piece of this paper, which is Cajun Craze, and it's from, and I have a customer that calls this the pig paper. See, piggies. It's from the He's All That Sweet. The paper is called He's the Man. Oops, I keep knocking my cord. He's the Man, and it's a really fun paper, and it's very masculine with the images and barbecues and cards and cars and motorcycles. It's really nice. But if you look at the flip sides of the papers, there's a lot of really good fall colors and solids. So you've got a lot of images on one side, but the flip side of it, you've got some really nice subtle tone-on-tone colors, and so I really like it. Like, I almost used this one. On the back of that is those cars. So it's a really fun paper, the pig paper. Great one to add to your collection this time of year. Anyway, I'm going to use that one right here, and we're also going to do some stamping on this side with these pretty little leaves here. So I'm just going to do tone-on-tone stamping with crumb cake ink. Now, I recently re-inked my crumb cake ink. It's very juicy, so it's going to be darker, and I don't mind that. It's super juicy, but I'm just going to kind of go off I always like to go off the edge because then it just doesn't look so funny. If you try to stay in the edge the whole time, you're going to get less of a random feel. So go off the edge a little bit. You kind of turn it every so often. A lot of this is going to get hidden. I think I'm far enough from the edge now. Let's see, one more. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this right down. It's empty there, but I know that's going to be covered, so I'm not going to worry about it. The Painted Pheasant stamp set is from the mini July to January. Is it July to December catalog? July to December. We have a new one coming in January. All right. Okay, so I've got that down, and I can set that aside for a minute. Now I'm going to work on that shimmery white cardstock and my pheasant. Now he needs a big block because he's got this long tail feather sticking out. I've grabbed a few of my markers. I've got several from the Neutrals family and then a couple from the Regals. I've got Crumb Cake, Espresso, and Soft Suede. And then I've got Cajun Craze and Shaded Spruce. So I kind of thought that I wanted my pheasant to have one of those colorful heads. I guess that would make it a boy pheasant, right? And you know what? If this is not realistic coloring for a pheasant, that's okay, because the recipient is not going to necessarily know that either, just because, I mean, maybe some of them would, but some won't. And I like it. And I want to just add a little bit to the back, just so it's not just in one spot. Okay, then I'm going to just kind of work with some different colors here. And I'm using the brush side. Now, it's important to know that there's two different kinds of markers that Stampin' Up sells, the Stampin' Write markers, and then also Stampin' Blends, which are square. And these are alcohol markers, and they're permanent markers. So if I was to color with this, my rubber stamps would be permanently colored, but also it dries pretty quickly, so when I would go to transfer it to my paper, it really kind of wouldn't. Whereas these are water-based markers, so they can do different things, and you can color on your stamps and not worry about permanently coloring your stamps. So I'm just kind of adding, I'm being very random here, just trying to get some color on this little guy. I'm going to do his feet in Cajun Craze too. I don't want to bring in too many different colors. I've got 5, which is kind of a lot. Okay, so I got his beak. Bring in some of this espresso, and I'm going to do his eye, and then some of these tail feathers, and some accents here. And maybe a little darker down there by the legs. Next, I'm going to move on to Soft Suede. Okay, and adding some of that. I'm just trying to make sure that I cover the whole thing, because it's hard to tell sometimes if you've gotten the whole thing covered. And then with the Crumb Cake, I'm just going to do a tiny bit here. And if you worry that you got your marker in a little, like I got my marker a little bit in the Shaded Spruce, I'm just going to go and kind of dab it off to the side just so it doesn't stay on, although it's not going to ruin it. Okay, there we go. I think I've got it all covered. Now, some people say it's important to do this next step. I'm not sure, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to huff with some hot air onto my stamp just to kind of give it a little moisten. So I'm just going to, and I can't show you this on screen, but hopefully you can hear that. You can kind of see it on my block. Okay, so I've done that. And now I'm going to stamp it onto my shimmery white. There. Now, it's really cute, but this still has a lot of ink on it. So I'm going to do it again, but this time I'm not even going to re-ink it. I'm going to spritz it with my Stampin Spritzer. These are sold. They're really nice because it's a fine mist, and you get 2 in a pack, and I forget the amount, but I will look it up and put it underneath in the captions. But I'm going to just lightly spray, and I kind of normally would do this off camera, but I want you to see it. And you're going to get a nice, it's a very fine little mist. So you're going to have to do it a few times, and I don't want to get my whole surface wet. So you know what, I'm going to do it once, just, and you don't want to go super close either because then you're going to get a puddle. So you want to kind of go up a little bit. It's not too wet. Nah, we're fine. Okay, so I've got it kind of wet. And then I'm going to stamp again. There, so I've got 2 cards in one shot. Now, I don't think I could do it a third time. I mean, I guess we could try. Doesn't hurt, right? Let's try it. See what happens. Did it again. Very subtle, but you can always add some highlights with a painter too with your water brush. So you know, I'll use them. I think I'll darken it a little bit with my water painters. Okay, so I've done my stamp several times. I'll put that aside to clean. And now the other thing I want to show you for this card that I'm doing, let's see, there's one, now which is the one I did full on, this one. Okay, now I love how when you add that spritz of water, it just kind of subtly, first off, that shaded spruce really shows up nice. Even this is the second generation, I guess you'd call it, because here's straight on stamp, and here's once I've added the water. So I like that look. You can leave it like this, and I did leave it alone on this one. But I really like the second one. Here's the second one I did earlier by myself too. So that's a second generation. And then here's the third. So if you have, you can take, if you really like the watery look, you can take your water brush, just get it going a little bit. And because this paper can handle it, the shimmery white, you can kind of brush a little bit on it. If you want to just kind of add a little more watercolor and kind of change colors, you can do that. Kind of livens it up a little bit, doesn't it? Now you don't have to do this step. Painting is kind of a thing for me. I love it. And I like that they've kind of made it easy by doing the artwork for me. Sometimes that's not, I don't know that I could draw a pheasant. Maybe. So, there. I've added just a touch of water, and it really kind of just brings it to life a little bit, doesn't it? Now this one is that third generation one. If you wanted to, you could go in, you could see how much laking up it'll do with the water. If you're not satisfied with that, you can take your ink pad and add a little more color. I think it might be waking up enough just with this. But if it's not, if you're not happy with it, grab your ink pad, and you can see I do this a lot, and darken it up a little bit. Just find some, throw some ink on your water painter and darken it up and play around with it. See what you think. Oops, I darkened it a lot. So because I darkened it a lot down here, I have to darken it a lot up here, just so it doesn't stand out too much. Play around. Spread that out a little bit. And I can add some Cajun craze if I want. Okay, anyway, you get the idea. All right, let's go back to that first one. Now I can't even tell. I think it's this one. and I want to show you what I did to get the tail feathers kind of coming outside of the block. Do you see that? How they come out, but yet it's still attached. It is one thing. Okay, let me put this away. Alright. So what I did is I wanted to use those deckled rectangles. But this image is such a funky one because the tails go up so far that in order to get the whole image, I would have had to go with a really big rectangle. Even that one cuts off something. And I just didn't want to do that because I didn't want to cover up my background. But it would have, you know, I would have had to use this one, I think, to get the whole thing. And look how big that is. And I really wanted to show the leaves. I wanted to have a few layers. So I wanted it smaller. So I thought, you know, it's too bad this one didn't fit. Then I thought, you know what? I'm going to make it fit. So it goes like this. And the tail feathers stick up. And that's okay because we're going to keep them, but we're going to cut them separately. So the way to do that, there's a couple different ways to do that. You can, and I'm gonna do this as an experiment with you, this new way that I thought of, because after I did this one, I thought, yeah, but I have these tools, what if you don't? So I'll show you how I did this one. But then I thought, you know what if I marked it where I want to cut, and now actually this one, that tail feather comes out on this one. It really doesn't, but I really want it to, so let me bring it down even further, even though I don't need to. So I made a little mark with my pencil of where they are. And then I'm going to cut them out, those tail feathers. And again, this is not how I did this one. I will show you how I did that one. Cutting out the tail feathers. So silly. All right, I'm just going to cut a little angle here so I can see them better. Okay. This is a live experiment. You're kind of playing along with me here. It's kind of the fun thing about paper. Paper's not super pricey, so you can, this is just a little quarter sheet. All right, oops, smaller one. All right, now I'm going to feed these through there. See how silly that is? I don't know if I can feed that little corner one in. I want to. I got to go further down. It's like I want it to get that corner one, but I must have stamped low or on a more of an angle on my sample. All right, I've got it kind of going through it. Now, I kind of don't love this way because it might have a crease here. So we're going to see how this works. I'm taping it down and I'm going to run it through my, am I cutting off his nose? There. I'm going to run it through my Big Shot. Let me grab it. So I've got my base plate, my top cutting plate. I'm going to stick a piece of washi there. Oh, maybe I don't need to. Is it going to stay? It's going to stay. And then my top pad. And there we go. I've got my little tail feather sticking out. Now this one, I must have tilted my other one better. Now, this is how I'm doing this one, but let me show you how I did my original one, which I might like better actually. Just kind of depends on what tools you have on hand, because maybe you don't have what I have here. Okay, so I've got this guy. Where's my smaller one? Here it is. Get some new washing. Okay. I want it right there. Okay. I'm going this way because I don't want to cut the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to I got it so close to the edge. I'm making myself crazy. Okay. I'm going to run it through, but not until it gets to the top. So I'm going to place this plate right there so you can see that this plate is not underneath this one. So it's not going to cut there. Does that make sense? So now the top is not cut, so how do I fix that? Well, I'm going to go through again, trying desperately not to move that because you don't want to have the cuts be wrong. This time I'm going to cut up to that feather. So I've got my plate ending right at that feather. Because my thickness is wrong here, it might take a little push. Okay. Okay, so now I've got this part here to worry about. Now, one way you can use just that is find something to shim just in the middle, which I did find. I have the mini plates, but then I thought, well, who has a mini and a big cut and emboss machine? I do, but that's because I have classes and I wanted to have extra. A lot of people just have one or the other, so that wouldn't work for everybody, unless you were a demonstrator. But what I did is I put my mini plate on an angle right here. Let me grab it just so you can see. Is I ran it through the big shot again, like this, so that there was no plate here and there, and that way that was left empty. Isn't that funny? But because this is a deckled edge, I thought, you know what? Let me cut my tail feather. Because it's deckled, what that just means is that it's kind of jagged. So if I just kind of go like this, nobody will know that that is my scissors. It makes my husband a little crazy when I don't put scissors. I say scissor. Anyway, that is my scissors. And there you go. Now, because your deckled is rounded, there are no super sharp corners. I don't want to have a super sharp corner on my tail feathers. So make sure those are rounded, and then they stick up. So anyway, that's a way to get a partial cut, is just making sure that your plate doesn't cover the whole area. And there's so many ways to use a partial cut. You can make things bigger than they're meant to be. Anyway, it's real fun technique, partial cut. Alright, so now I did use the bigger deckled edge to make the border. I'm going to glue that down. put my image up on some dimensionals. We're going to do the inside of the card and our sentiment. Now I love linen thread. I go through it a lot. Now I lost it on my desk. If I could pan out and show you this desk right now. There's Christmas going on and a swap and all kinds of stuff. Actually, this isn't the linen thread. This is one of the basics, but that's okay. There's a set of Baker's Twine called Basics, and it has white, black, gray, and I think this is a hair sand or crumb cake. And so I'm using that. I made it double, and then I'm just kind of tying a little bow. Play with the tails here a little bit. And then I'm just going to use a glue dot. Place that in the lower left corner. And then my sentiment, I have a little strip of that shimmery white left from when I was cutting. So I'm going to do grateful. Oh, too high. Pardon my head. There we go. And then on the inside, I am going to do another piece of shimmery white, but this time I'm going to say Happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to go slightly biased to the right, but only slightly. Oops, am I curving upwards? I'm sitting in my chair funny because I'm moving around. And I put it on my block on an angle like a silly person. Okay, there we go, nice and straight. And then I have little scraps of that pig paper. And I think I'll put that on the side, which is why I biased it just slightly, just ever so slightly to the right. And so I just have these little scraps. I love using up my little slivers from probably Father's Day or some day when I was making some barbecue cards for my brother. My brother is the barbecue master in our family. Every family's got one. Well, a lot of families have one. My brother is the self-appointed barbecue king, and we love that he self-appointed himself because he is really good. He always says, don't barbecue, I'll do it. I'll bring it. He even brings his grill. He's got several. All right, now my crumb cake pad is around here somewhere. And I'm just going to take same stamp set, these cute little grasses. Right, there's the inside. Outside, I need a dimensional. I don't like this one. It must be gray. I'm gonna have to look that up. I want my linen thread, and I found it when I was moving stuff around. I love linen thread. I will use that other bow on something else. Just love it. I love that it curls up. I love that it's natural fibers and just looks so fun and rusticy. Okay, that's going down. Like so, and then I'm going to put this one up on dimensionals. Now the side with the L, oops, which is the, I like side with the L just gets one dimensional. I want it to hang off the side. That kind of helps you see it, you know, and then because otherwise it kind of gets lost here. And I also kind of like that the bow is under it because it really lifts it. Now this side, I've already got one dimensional height plus another dimensional height. So I'm going to cut this dimensional in half and stack it. And that way it'll be the height that I want it. And tuck that behind here. And down. Alright, there is my painted pheasant card. I hope you liked it. Here's my other one, original. And again, I've got more that I can use. Super fun technique. I hope you'll give it a try. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you'll subscribe and come back again. Hit the little bell so you'll get notified when I do future videos. Thank you so much. Bye.